The update.
Okay, hey guys, it's Pollywood here, and I'm in my car, and I'm going to be doing the update. And for today's update, it's Friday, the 22nd of May, and I've been waiting for this day for quite a while because it was the day that the 1975's new album, Notes on a Conditional Form, been released. It's out now. Go and check it out on the streaming services. It should be there on Spotify, Apple Music. I personally have Google Play, and I'm just going to give a few of my thoughts just from a first listen perspective. Overall, it's hard to really get my head around this one. I honestly think it's probably the worst of their albums. Now, I like the 1975. I think they are great. I don't think they put out a bad record, and I don't think Notes on a Conditional Form is a bad record. I think it's actually quite brilliant in spots. My big criticism of the record is that it's way too long and way too much filler. And I think if they trimmed about 20 minutes off this record, I think it would be brilliant. Or it's like Leonardo painting the Mona Lisa and then just painting over it. So it's like just not knowing when to quit. It was like there was just too much, I guess, downtime maybe for them to be working on this record, and just more ideas coming in, and they just needed a good editor to say, hey, let's stop it here. We got a record. It's a great record. It runs an hour and 20 minutes. So if you trim that down to an hour, you still got a 60-minute record that kicks major ass. So I'm just going to go into a few specific tracks. The opening track, the 1975, likes to open their albums with a self-titled track, and usually it's just kind of like a short intro. I'm not generally a fan. I've never been a fan of these tracks, and this one in particular, I don't like it at all. It runs for 5 minutes, and it's basically Greta Thunberg's speech. If you know Greta Thunberg, climate change activist, and I don't want to diminish the importance of her message. That's not why I'm being so critical of it. The reason why I'm being so critical of it is that it just doesn't play any role into this record at all. It's like they're trying to make a socio-economic political statement by putting this track at the beginning and just having Greta Thunberg go on for 5 minutes about how we need to combat climate change. And that's cool if they want to do that and make a track around that, but I just think it doesn't fit on this record. They wanted to release it in as a side or as a bonus track, or do an album of music set to Greta Thunberg speeches, by all means, but I don't think it fits here. It's 5 minutes that I'm never going to listen to again right there. The first half of this album, it just seems like it stops and starts. You have People. I love People. I think it's a great track. It's 2.5 minutes of just pure blistering industrial mayhem. It's the angriest, heaviest track that the 1975 have done, and it was a nice change to see them do something like that. I've always thought that they had it in them, but the rest of the album doesn't follow that same indicator. It's really kind of a red herring for the rest of the album. The third track, The End, is basically a 2.5 instrumental track. Honestly, I thought it'd make a much better intro track than the Greta Thunberg speech. It's nice. It's 2.5 minutes of cinematic orchestral fluff that would serve as a good lead in. And like I say, over the first half of the album, you have kind of tracks that fall into two categories. You have sort of the more mid-tempo rock tracks, and you have some of the more electronic house-driven tracks. Some of the more rock tracks, The Birthday Party, I like. Really, I find the album doesn't get going till about the midway. Now, forgive me, I don't have a track listing in front of me. I'm still trying to, I just listened to this as just the first listen. But there's a few tracks, Jesus Christ, 2005, which sounds like something that would come up on a Bon Iver album. It's nice, it's pretty. I'm not sure too much about the lyrical content of it, but the harmonies are nice. It's engaging enough for its 4-minute runtime. There's a couple tracks here that are a bit more kind of fall into that sort of jazzy, gospel-y vibe with horns, much like Sincerity is Scary on their previous album. If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know, I really like. That's probably the best song on this album. It has an intro that reminds me a little bit of Pink Floyd's Run Like Hell. That's a good thing. I love Run Like Hell. And it quickly, after the intro, turns into its own mid-tempo 80s rocker. Really like it. I definitely the catchiest thing. It's probably my favorite track upon first listen. The last track on the album, Guys, I really like as well. And again, I mean, without sort of going into each individual track and saying, hey, this is good, this is bad, I find that I think with just some editing and a lot of the instrumental tracks, there's like a 6-minute long instrumental track near the end of the album. Again, something that doesn't need to run 6 minutes, something that maybe could be cut to 1.5 minutes or even cut altogether. It doesn't really appeal to me too much. There's a couple grime house. It sounds interesting again, but really the whole album lacks any sort of cohesiveness, and I think when you're looking into this as an album, it's a hard listen. 80 minutes and just too much filler. It'd be a good album for songs. I think, if you go back and you pick and choose different songs off this album, I think there's a lot of good songs on this album. So that's it. Notes on a Conditional Form. I'd have to say probably a 6.5 out of 10. It's not bad. I think if you trim it, you could probably bump it up to an 8 or even a 9 with the material on here. But as it is right now, it just seems like it's just too much, and too incoherent as far as track listing in order. Take care, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you guys soon. All right, bye. Okay, guys, I hope you liked that review. You're going to see some boxes pop up on the screen. Please click the link to subscribe if you like what I am doing here. Go click on the link and watch another one of my videos. And yeah, I mean, just go watch, and there's other reviews and there's other just interesting stuff that you can watch. Be entertained. Bye.